we have.
Okay, all right. I think I am one.
Well, we're just about ready to wrap up our bonus coverage of Nationwide Series practice here at Memphis Motorsports Park. There's the view of downtown Memphis from here in Millington. Let's take a look at the top 10 in speeds. And Mike Bliss, this is one car to deal with tomorrow because these guys are on a rail right now. They turned the fastest lap early, and they have been fastest even as the practice has progressed and the tires have fallen off. Behind him is Landon Castle, as we mentioned, a young man trying to make an impression and hopefully get a full-time ride. What we're going to do now is switch things back over to Martinsville, where Dr. Jerry Punch and the guys have taken a 40-minute break at our poor expense, guys. Come on, it's time for you guys to go to work, and let's do some Cup qualifying.
Hey, Marty, it was a great nap. You guys did a nice job covering the NASCAR Nationwide Series. We'll come back out there to Memphis later on today after our qualifying here in Martinsville, Virginia. I'm joined by Andy Petrie and Dale Jarrett. Folks, glad to have you with us back here. If you just joined our coverage, as Marty was telling you, we had rain earlier today, and that pushed back the qualifying schedule for NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying to 3:40, a little bit after 3:40 Eastern time. They did have one practice session, guys, and we're able to see Mark Martin and some of the guys, Juan Pablo Montoya quick. Now, what are the keys? With minimal practice, what are the keys to getting a good couple laps of qualifying in here at Martinsville?
If I knew that, I may still be trying to qualify these things. This was one of the most difficult places for me to ever get a handle on qualifying. You get so jacked up as a driver, and the thing that you honestly cannot do here as a driver is to overdrive the corners. Into turn 1, you lock up the brakes, then you're going to be history. Same thing into turn 3, you can get the car to wheel hopping, then you're out of control. So you have to be really careful with that. But if you don't do that, if you can get a smooth entry into the corner, then get back to the throttle extremely quick, you can have a pretty decent lap around here.
Yeah, and this track really is about the driver. It's a lot about doing that qualifying. But the car, what you can do with the race car is you can help the driver by helping the tires get up to temperature quickly, because it's a very short track that qualifying doesn't take very long, so you don't have a lot of time to heat the tires up. So you try to put a setup in there that'll get the most grip as quickly as you can, and getting that tire pressure set to where it needs to be to run that fast lap, which is going to be their second laps here today. If you can get that tire pressure just right for that lap, that's how you get the fastest out of your race car.
Okay, Andy, thank you. Here's Joey Logano. He is the first car to go out. Remember, it's about a lap and 3/4 warm-up because of where they come onto the racetrack. And now the 19-year-old rookie will take the green flag. Only his second ever start at this racetrack. He struggled here back in the spring, started 34th, finished 32nd. But boy, did he have a nice comeback last week at Lowe's Motor Speedway after an early miscue in the pits.
Yeah, he did a great job, and I was talking to Joey earlier, and he was really happy. He said he needs a lot more of those. He said it makes the week after those kind of races a lot more fun leading up to the next race.
He puts up a nice first lap at 1978. Here, getting into the rev limiter on the back stretch, that's always a good sign. You're listening for that from the pits to see how early it hits that chip, and the earlier, the faster he's going.
Yeah, and some of these guys will actually use that to get them off of the throttle. When they hit that chip, they'll actually put a chip in there that will get to maybe the point to where they want to get off the throttle and start their braking procedure so they don't overdrive the corner.
Let's go down to Shannon Spake.
Well, we heard Dave say at the start of the show that some drivers actually worked on practice you worked on race trim during practice earlier today. 43 laps you turned. How much of that was focused on qualifying and how much was focused on race trim?
Well, I think we made 2 or 3 qualifying runs, so we were able to get quite a bit of running in. We made one longer run, and then made some adjustments, just testing, trying some things from there. But pretty excited and happy with the DuPontNationalGuard.com Chevrolet. We love coming to Martinsville. Car was really good. Track changed a little bit, so I think we got some good notes because it doesn't look like very promising for tomorrow's practice. But hopefully we will get some more practice in. And I'm really excited that we're getting a chance to qualify because I think we've got a great shot at the pole.
And a good shot at that #1 pit stall, which everyone's going for. Doc?
Indeed, Shannon, thank you. A 7-time pole sitter and 7-time winner here, Jeff Gordon. Now, Kyle Busch, on the other hand, will be headed out to Memphis for tomorrow's nationwide race. Has struggled here, folks. He has not had a top 20 finish the last 3 times he has been to Martinsville Speedway.
Yeah, he does have 2 top 5 finishes, but none lately. It's been a big struggle here at Martinsville. He struggled a little bit in practice today, too, only 31st quick.
Yeah, I think we're going to see most of these guys pick up on their second lap. That's what happened in practice. Kyle actually picks up just a little bit.
Yeah, we saw that too from Logano, just a little bit of a pickup on that second lap. I'm actually surprised how quick they can run on that first lap.
So a 20.006. That's the second lap for Kyle Busch in the 18 car. Next car to go out will be David Ragan, and they began the year with a top 10 finish and then just sort of struggled for the next 3.5 to 4 months. And finally, DJ, a couple of weeks ago at Kansas, this team suddenly turned it around and started running well again.
Yeah, you know, something that they've hit on. And of course, unfortunately for them, the entire Roush organization has been off a lot during the entire year. But David and Jimmy Fitting and this group with their UPS Ford have had some good runs the last 3 weeks, and so it looks a lot more promising. And this is a track that he's also done well at recently also. So I know he was looking forward to getting in here and see what they could do this weekend.
See Jimmy Finnick there looking on. When David Ragan first came to Martinsville, he was an aggressive race car driver. In fact, so aggressive, some of the veterans were pretty angered by him, and they labeled him a dart without feathers.
I think that was Tony Stewart that gave him that label, but he's since overcome that. It's just a really tough racetrack. The one thing I like about it as a crew chief, though, just like you see Jimmy Finnick, he's able to watch this. You see he blocked that left front tire up. You get an up-close view of the race car. I mean, it's not like being in a 1.5 mile track. You can really see what's going on with the car, and you can help diagnose a lot of what it's doing just from watching it, how much wheel he's got in it, and whether it's spinning the tires or not.
David Ragan's lap is right now second quickest overall of the 3 cars that are gone, and right now it is the kid from Connecticut, Joey Logano, atop the speed charts.
NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying, brought to you by Goodyear. Innovative technology to help you get there.
Live coverage, NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying. Elliott Sadler just completing his lap. He right now is 3rd overall. His Dodge clocking in a little over 94.6 miles per hour. And here is Robbie Gordon, who just bumped him down to 4th. And Robbie now is 3rd overall of the 5 cars that are gone. So it's Joey Logano, David Ragan, Robbie Gordon, Elliott Sadler, and Kyle Busch. Now, what about the 12 chase contenders that we had the one practice section? Where did they practice? Jimmy Johnson in the top 10. Mark Martin 1st overall in practice. Gordon right there, the 7-time winner. Tony Stewart was struggling a bit. And look at Juan Pablo Montoya, 2nd quickest in that session. Here's Mark Martin, a 3-time pole winner. Although Mark has not run the fall race here because of running a limited schedule the last couple of years, he has not run this fall race since 2006.
I'm betting he hadn't forgotten how to do it, though. Like you said, he was fastest in practice. Gets the rev limiter up the backstretch.
He's got a good lap going here. Get back to the throttle off of turn 4. Very nice.
And that will make him the quickest thus far at a 1962. That was a good year.
Yeah, it's just a little quicker than he ran in practice. Now he's going to try to pick it up this 2nd lap.
Yeah, a little wheel spin off of turn 2. I don't think he had to get out of the throttle, but obviously when you don't have that maximum grip, it's costing you time.
Yep, and this might be the first car that slows down on that 2nd lap, and it is. Just a little bit. Mark Martin's 1st lap is the fastest.
68 seconds. Nice job, bud. Good car. Good car.
Let's check in where Dave is caught up with Joey Logano.
And Doc, as we were standing here, Joey and I both kind of knew that Mark Martin might have something for his initial fast lap, but you had first draw too, Joey. Did that affect you at all?
It was kind of whatever on the draw deal, you know. I was just trying to get you an interview before you went out there, so at least I can have a pole interview. But yeah, it seems like the Farm Bureau Insurance Toyota's it's pretty good. You know, it's a big pickup either way. I know hopefully that keeps it in the top 10, but we'll see. But it's a big pickup either way from what we had in practice, so we'll take it.
Joey Logano making his 2nd start here at Martinsville this weekend, guys.
Thank you, Dave. Here's Dale Earnhardt Jr., and he was very good in the only practice session. He was 4th overall. We told you that twice in the last 5 races here, this Dale Earnhardt Jr., this driver here has led the most laps.
Got a good lap going here. He rolled the center of the corner of 1 and 2 real well. Looks like he may have slipped just a little bit off the corner, but 1st lap is a 1976. 3rd quickest.
Yeah, let's see if he's able to get off of the corners. That's where he got beat. He's carrying a lot of speed once again, just as you pointed out, Andy, but that's not translating into getting off of the corner quite as well.
He has never won a pole here. He started on the front row, though, twice. And a little bit slower that time by. So right now he will sit 3rd of the 7 cars that have gone out.
Pretty impressed the way he rolled the center of the corner, though. He was faster than Mark Martin in both ends of the corner. That'll pay off in the race.
Talk about a team that really needs to be able to finish one out, and after all they have hustled through the chase and had trouble in the second half. How about this Hendrick Motorsports domination? I don't know what else you can say about it, but domination here at Martinsville. They've won 10 of the last 13 races, and look how they've divvied them up there. Jimmy Johnson 6 and Jeff Gordon 4.
And just what he's done at this racetrack is incredible. Only 6 times ever. Now we're talking about 33 races at Martinsville as he finished outside of the top 10.
That's why I picked him to win this week.
Yeah, that's a good reason. 2002 was the last time that he did finish out of the top 10.
So you're picking Jeff Gordon to beat Superman at Martinsville, huh?
Well, I mean, everybody else is going to pick Jimmy Johnson. I couldn't do that.
Well, Jeff has not finished worse than 5th here in the last 9 races. I mean, if he runs this race and finishes it, he's into the top 5.
I told him when I saw him down in the garage areas, he'll clock in second right now. I was going to put a little extra pressure on him this week. He was my choice to win, so not to let it get to him.
Not like he needed any more pressure.
No.
Second overall, first time by for Jeff
He's
Gordon.
in the green. Here we go.
And can he beat Mark Martin for the pole?
Yeah, you're right, Jeff. It is, but not by a lot.
Woo! Nice lap, man. 19.619. P1 right now. Woo! Yes!
How can you feel that in the car? He's saying he knew he had that pole coming
Well,
off the
you
corner.
know when you get that grip through the center, you roll fast through the center. If you can get back and hammer the throttle, then you know it. That's all that you had. It might not be quite good enough, but you know as a driver that's what you had. And that's fun when you can do that.
That would be his first pole if it holds up of the year. We've got lots of motorsports coming your way. We'll have practice from NASCAR Sprint Cup Series cars tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Happy hour coverage coming your way at 6:30 Eastern Time. And, of course, on Sunday, live flag-to-flag coverage on ABC, presented by Goodyear. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Martinsville at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. NASCAR Nationwide Series final practice at Memphis. That's coming up next at the conclusion of our qualifying coverage. And, of course, qualifying tomorrow at 10:45 a.m. Eastern Time from Memphis. And the race flag-to-flag, 3 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN2. Randy LaJoie, Rusty Wallace, Marty Reed, and all the gang. Of course, NASCAR Now, Sunday morning, pre-race edition, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Here's Kevin Harvick in the 29 car. Kevin, pretty good on flat racetracks where he grew up out in Bakersville, California. Let's see what he can do as far as getting a Richard Childress car in the top 5.
Oh, he slips big time coming off 4.
It's a really fine balance. That first lap is good enough for 4th, but here's such a fine line of getting that car to turn through the center but have enough forward bite left to get you off of the corner.
Let's go down to Shannon Spade.
Well, down here with the man who finished second here earlier this season. And if you're putting money on this race, you definitely want to take a look at the 11. He's always great on short tracks, but Jeff Gordon just turned one heck of a lap. Do you guys have something for him here in qualifying?
Maybe. You know, we'd have to pick a couple tenths from where we were in practice, and that's feasible. I mean, we were in traffic for our lap, but we're just gonna have to see what we got. Our FedEx Freight car, we spent a lot of time in race trim, so we really didn't concentrate that much on qualifying. So right now, a top 10, you know, we'd be happy with that considering how much effort we put into qualifying.
And Denny Hamlin is also our in-race reporter this weekend, so if you want to listen in on his radio and talk to him during the race, we'll be doing it. Guys?
Here's Mark. Thank you very much, Shannon. Here's Marcos Ambrose, and he got right against that curb trying to come off the corner.
Yeah, you want to be as close as possible to that curb, but you don't want to hit it, and that really hurts your lap time. He did bump up against that curb.
Only has one previous start here. That was back in the spring of this year. He started 24th and had a respectable finish. Finished 14th on the lead lap.
Yeah, that's a much better lap for 1 and 2 there. He got close, but it hugged right around that. Anytime you hit that curve, you're going to lose time. He's got a much better lap going here.
And a little bit better that time, Andy.
Yeah, he picks it up to 8th, but that's a little disappointing compared to where he practiced. He practiced in the top 10 in the 8th spot.
Well, let's go down and visit with Mark Martin. Dave.
And he bettered his fast practice time, Doc. Mark, did you leave anything on the table out there?
Well, yeah, I did. I slipped on my second lap there. I dialed some rear brake into it. It was too much. The last run we made, it needed it. and then I think we got the car a little bit better. The car was phenomenal, and I got that quick lap, I think, on the first time lap, and should have been able to get a quicker second lap, but I got the rear wheels bouncing going into one, and it's great. Awesome run. Pretty cool to run that fast on that first lap, you know. Great race car. It'll be a decent starting spot.
Not the pole, but it will be a good starting spot up front, guys.
Should be fun to watch Mark up there, see if he can close in on Jimmy Johnson. Here's Casey King coming off that third-place finish at Lowe's Motor Speedway last week. He has one top 5 and 11 starts here at Martinsville, that being a second-place finish back in the spring of 2005.
That first lap is good enough for 7th. See if he can pick up a little bit. I really thought that we were going to see at least a 10th of a second pickup from a lot of these guys, but that really hasn't been the case. Even a few times we've seen that first lap be quicker.
You see the same thing here. Casey King slows down just a little bit on that second lap, but he wasn't anywhere near the curve. We were talking about how you want to be on the bottom of the racetrack. That 9 car was up quite a bit off that curve.
We might mention that Sam Hornish Jr. was scheduled to go out here early on, and he's had to go to a backup car, so he's been excused. How about a couple of Hendrick guys talking over their qualifying runs? What do you think they're saying here, DJ?
I don't know, but if Mark Martin's ever going to have to listen to somebody somewhere about a racetrack, that's a good man to be talking to right here at this place.
Well, 2 Hendrick drivers talking about their laps after having run qualifying, and the guy they're chasing in the points and for the championship, Jimmy Johnson on the racetrack.
Yeah, they're standing there like they're talking and not going to pay attention to what Jimmy Johnson does. But I can assure you they'll perk up about now when he takes the green flag.
Well, he was 9th quickest in practice, the only practice session. Let's see what he can do. He's got to beat a 19.619 second lap to beat Jeff Gordon for the pole.
I'll tell you, that's going to be a tall order to beat that lap Jeff Gordon put down. You go out there and really try too hard, then it's going to be easy to find yourself losing a 10th or 10th and a half, and as close as times are, that could be quite a few spots. That'd be 7th quickest on that first lap.
I really studied Jimmy Johnson in practice. I watched him run lap after lap in race trim, and just, you know, he's like a machine out there, but not able to really lay down this fast lap. And you see right here, it's going to be a decent lap. It's not going to be where he wants to be in qualifying. He picks up just a little bit, but he stays 7th fastest overall.
But I will say this.
Good effort there, bud. Good effort. 1977.
Let's talk with Jeff.
You gotta be kidding me.
Dave.
And Jeff Gordon watched the lap and could not be bested, so far still a pole. Good race car, I take it.
Well, you know, when you have your teammates go ahead of you like that and then one right behind you, and you know how fast they are, for us to be sitting number 1, even though we've gone early right now, is a great feeling. Really excited about this DuPontNationalGuard.com Chevrolet and how it's been performing today. But we got a few more bullets to dodge before this thing's over, but I'm real happy with the lap. Not a whole lot more I felt like I could have done to improve. So, you know, of course, there's always little things, but I'm real happy with it. And the fact that Mark ran as solid a lap as he did, you know, and it was a good lap, and we were able to up that just a tiny bit, because he's been kicking our tails every weekend in qualifying. So I feel pretty good right now. We'll just wait and see.
Another good chase start for Jeff Gordon, guys.
And Dave, if Jeff Gordon's pole were to hold up here, he would tie him for 8 poles with Darrell Waltrip, all-time most poles in Martinsville Speedway history. Here's Brian Vickers out for his qualifying run.
Yeah, he's fighting to get all that he can out of this. That's 8th quickest right there. But you can see Brian really having to work the wheel in the center and off of the corner.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a little bit too much wheel in the center of the corner, making the car push a little. You know, the car is pushing. That's why he's got the wheel in it. And then off the corner, he's losing the back end. That's just fighting a setup that's not quite right.
That is still a lot faster than he ran in practice when he was back at 22nd overall. Let's go down and visit with Jeff Burton. Shannon.
Well, if home field advantage counts for anything, watch the 31 team. Jeff Burton, of course, a Virginia native. I see you watching the screen here. What is the key to getting around this track so fast?
I think this is the hardest racetrack we go to qualify. It's you know, it's real hard to get into a rhythm here in 2 laps. The brakes are cold versus practice they're hot. It's just this is a really tough qualifying lap. So to me, it's about just getting in a rhythm as quickly as you can. The car is going to be a little different than it was in practice, and learn what you need to do with your car as quickly as you can, because the laps go by quickly here and there's very little time to adjust.
And the team will be getting in a rhythm with a new crew chief next week, Doc. It'll be Todd Barrier on top of the pit box calling the shots for this 31 team starting in Talladega.
Pretty excited about the shuffle going on there at RCR. Jeff Burton, by the way, won here in 1997 driving for Jack Roush. Here is a Roush Fenway car. Boy, and he jumps in the brakes there.
Not good. That can hurt your lap a lot. Not just that lap, but it can hurt your next one, too, if you put a flat spot on that left front tire.
Yeah, and that's the slowest of our cars so far. I was talking to Carl down there, too. He wanted to assure me and everyone else that was some speculation out there that he intentionally blew that engine up in that car last week. He said, you know, the car wasn't good. He said, obviously would never do something like that. But he was a little bothered that people would even consider that would be something that he would do. But they have struggled, and he picks it up a little bit here to the 10th quickest time on that second lap.
I think one reason people say that is when you're having a good day and you're out there leading, that's when the engine will usually blow up.
That's right, yeah.
It'll hardly ever blow up when you're having a bad day like Carl was last week.
So a pretty good comeback for Carl in that second lap here to put him in the top 10. He was actually 34th overall in the practice session.
Just what we saw Carl do is what I always fought here and found it so difficult. As I would stand and watch others kind of do the same thing, and I would tell myself when I got in the car I was not going to do that, and invariably you'd go out there and do it. I can probably count on 2 fingers the time that I went out and picked up my time from practice to qualifying as a driver here. And you always like to think that you're good for a 10th or 2 as a driver, and I usually was, but it was the wrong way. And just as Jeff Burton was pointing out, this is a difficult place, and there's Matt Kenseth locking them up going into the corner too.
It really is such a fine line, and trying to get the most out of the brakes is so important to run a fast lap here. And there is, you get in that corner and you lock that wheel up, it really does hurt the lap. So it's really hard to get that feel and get that temperature in the tires that you need to be able to, so that left front tire will hold that braking power.
Here's the Daytona 500 winners. First lap, Matt Kenseth right now 11th overall at a 1988. Let's see if he can pick that up.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, not with that second one. It looked like it might have been going a little bit better until you could see he slid the tire again. And as he got off the brakes, car went up the racetrack and he was out of the groove.
So he will find himself out of the top 10 with a lot more cars yet to qualify. We mentioned the 77 car of Sam Hornish had an issue in the morning practice session. He's getting ready to go out on his backup car. Let's watch and listen to what happened to him in this morning's session. You could hear that wheel hop as he was coming down into turn 1. You hear the sort of the chattering, and he just backed it in the wall.
That's a horrible feeling and sound as a driver, I can tell you. And it's easy to do here. The transitions into the corners, they're better than they used to be, but because of trying to get the cars to turn in the center, these guys will dial in a little more rear brake, but you have to be careful not to overdrive it.
Well, that's what you're trying to do. You saw him lock that left front wheel up, and what you're trying to do is to balance that out. So you put it to the rear, and if you go to the other side of that line, it's the rear, and the rear wheel's locking up, and when they do that, they hop. And when they hop, you have no traction whatsoever.
Yeah, you can see as we go down the straightaway here, that's asphalt that you're on right now. And right about here, as you're braking hard, you're going into concrete. They actually moved that down a little bit further when they redid these corners with the concrete surface. So it's better than it was, but it's still something that you have to adjust to as a driver.
This is the backup car. We mentioned you saw the primary car covered up there with all the back end damage on it. Sam making his second full year of racing here in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Made a pretty good adjustment on the speedways, but I guess learning to come from IndyCar to a short track is quite a challenge.
He did pick it up to 11th quickest that second lap.
Now watch the skid marks here as he comes by. Look at that. Look at dots on the racetrack.
Yeah, in between those dots are when the wheels are completely off the ground.
Wow. On the racetrack, another one of our chase contenders, the 2-car of Kurt Busch. Kurt is a former winner here. In fact, he has 4 top 10 finishes, but all of his win and his top 10 finishes all came driving the 97 car for Jack Roush. Since he has been in the 2-car, he has not had a top 10 finish at Martinsville.
Yeah, they've actually struggled, but you know, they've had a great chase so far. They're averaging an 8th place finish, even though they're losing ground to the leader, Jimmy Johnson. But they've done a really good job to this point. But this is an important race for them to keep those championship hopes alive.
Kurt, one of only 2 drivers. He mentioned how well he's done in a chase. He and Jimmy Johnson, the only 2 drivers to have led laps in all 5 chase races this year.
See if he's going to be able to pick it up just a little bit. The first lap being 15th. Doesn't look like it's going to be as good.
Now he actually slows down.
A bit of a disappointment for these guys. 15th out of 17 cars.
It's going to be an uphill battle on Sunday for this team.
When we heard Shannon talk earlier, you qualify towards, you know, the back part of the field. You're literally a half lap down, and it's so difficult to pass because the competition is so tight this day and time that it just makes you a long day. So you have to do some real good pit strategy and be pretty fortunate to get yourself up front.
Here comes our in-race reporter, getting his tires up to temperature. You see him weaving the car back and forth, using this warm-up lap to his advantage. This is a guy that I've got picked as the winner this week.
So DJ's picking the 24 and you got the 11.
Yeah, we'll see how it works out here.
All right.
DJ's man's on top right now.
Well, back in the spring, folks, it was the 11 car, Denny Hamlin, that led 296 laps. In fact, Jimmy Johnson had to sort of root him out of the way with 16 laps to go to win the race. So there's still a little bit of discussion going on.
You think Jimmy and Chad, if they're having to sitting in the truck watching this bit of qualifying, think, what are those two idiots think?
Yeah, I agree.
They're not going to pick us. They're going to pick Denny Hamlin and Jeff Gordon as we win all of these races. But we just have to make it interesting, guys.
That's just tugging on Superman's cape right there, boys. First time by Denny Hamlin, 8th overall.
Come on, going to have to pick it up.
We talked about the little bump down there in the spring. Jimmy Johnson said that he was down on the curb and couldn't go any lower, and that he got cut down on by Hamlin. Hamlin said it just moved him out of the way. So it's depending upon who you talk to.
I tell you, in watching Denny Hamlin, he does pick it up just a little bit, but still the 8th spot. But racing with him and watching him race here, he is really smooth on his entry to the corner, and that's why I think he races so well here.
Here's what happened back in the spring. 16 laps to go, and there they are in the corner. Hamlin is leading. Johnson gets under him and would take the lead. Johnson would go on and win the race here, and Hamlin would finish second. And as they said in the garage area, race drivers don't get mad, they get even.
That was just good short track racing right there.
Yeah, he was trying to be smooth getting into that corner. Jimmy just wouldn't let him. But.
All right, here's Juan Pablo Montoya, and he has been obviously the surprise of the chase in terms of what they have been able to do with consecutive top 5 finishes in 4 of the 5 races, and now he was second in practice earlier today.
Yeah, let's see how he does this. He obviously doesn't have a lot of attempts qualifying here, only 5 races, but they had a fast car in practice. If he can back that up, that'll be a big feather in their cap to start this weekend.
It really is tough to qualify here. You go out there with those tires completely cold. It's not like practice where everything's kind of warmed up. Even though you put new tires on, all the brakes are warm. You got a lot of heat in the car. You go out here stone cold. It's really hard to get this car up to speed in just 2 laps here.
It's amazing. I've gotten in before here and talked to other drivers too. As you can see, it's a little loose through that corner right there. But it's just like, where did my race car go? What happened? This isn't the car that you guys gave me in practice.
That's about 2/10 slower than what he ran in practice. And right now, Juan Pablo Montoya, 9th overall. Jeff Gordon atop the charts. Coverage of qualifying continuing here at Martinsville Speedway. Clint Boyer, who started 3rd here in the spring, right now is 9th as his Chevy went out to qualify. He got a little rubbing against the concrete here. Now his teammate Jeff Burton will go out. See what he can get done in the 31 car.
See if Jeff can, he picks it up on the 2nd lap. That gets him up to the 11th spot.
Heard Shannon talk to Jeff, who's from nearby South Boston, Virginia. Had that emotional first win here back in 1990 in the Nationwide car, and also won here in 97 in the Cup car. Here's the contact we told you about with Clint Boyer during his qualifying lap.
Just a little love tap. So Kevin Harvick trying to get the most out of his car qualifying, comes up off the corner just a little bit too hard, and exact same spot.
Let's check in where Shannon is caught up with Ryan Newman.
Ryan Newman just dropping into his 39 car. He's got a little Army guy on the front on board for this U.S. Army number 39. Now, Ryan, I know that brakes are so important here at Martinsville. What is the key to balancing between getting on the brakes and getting on the gas?
Just really how you decel, and the throttle too is a big part of it, because the engine is a big brake in itself. So there's a part of it that's just the engine braking in addition to the brake pedals. So timing those 2 things in reference to the asphalt and the concrete and how your car's balanced and the proportioning that you have front to rear of your car is extremely important.
Sounds easy, right, guys? Just do that twice in a half-mile track 500 times.
Wow, 500 at each end during for 500 laps, 1,000 times for the race on Sunday. That's you got to be in good shape here. There's Reed Sorenson, left side of your screen.
Great first lap, 4th quickest. If he can pick it up here, looks like he's going to slow up just a little on this second lap, but a great first lap puts him in the top 5 so far.
Will be by far his best ever qualifying lap here in Martinsville Speedway in Virginia.
Yeah, you heard Ragan Newman talking about the engine being a big brake, and it is. I used to measure that on the chassis dyno. We would measure it in negative horsepower, and it's close to 200 horsepower negative when you let off the throttle, that the rear tires are actually pulling back. So that's why it's so easy to lock those rear wheels up.
We invite you to join us Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, live flag-to-flag coverage. It is race number 6 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Jimmy Johnson has won 5 of the last 6 races we have run here at Martinsville Speedway. Our coverage beginning at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on ABC. NASCAR Sprint Cup action presented by Goodyear. '26 car Jamie McMurray, and Jamie normally runs this racetrack very, very well. He's qualified well in the past and basically hung in the top 10 for much of the day.
He started on the front row 3 times here.
Yeah, and actually finished 10th here earlier this year. I know that would be more than welcome right at this point in time for the Roush organization.
There's the boss looking on.
Still a lot of speculation as what Jamie's going to do in 2010. A lot of people believe he'll head over to the 1 car for Earnhardt Ganassi. But Truex is vacating. First 2 laps for McMurray, and he puts him just outside the top 10.
Yeah, he picks up just a little bit on that second lap, just about a 0.5 of a second.
Next car to qualify, the 98 car of Paul Menard. DJ, you were talking about, you and Andy both were talking about how difficult it is to be able to get a good smooth lap here, and that you can go faster if you can get out of the brakes earlier. That's got to be hard to do for a driver when you want to hustle it into the corner.
Yeah, it really is. You just get, again, so pumped up to qualify. You want to go out here and give it all that you got, and you know, it's just a short track, and you want to drive it down in and get on the brake and make it stop. It's just so hard to make it all happen. I think, you know, somebody that taught Dale Earnhardt one time, Jimmy Hensley got in his car. I can remember that. Seems like that was back in the late 90s that he got in the car and qualified it on the pole.
Yeah, it was in actually the early 90s before I came over, but that was one thing. Earnhart was such a hard driver. It was almost hard to harness him back for qualifying. He would try to get that extra 2 tenths, and I don't know how many times he would try to overdo it, and we'd end up starting in the back, but he'd pass them all back and get us a top 5 finish or better.
Yeah, I came here and tested one time and just worked on that. The last half of the day, we just worked on qualifying. I picked me out a spot where I was going to let off and got in qualifying and still couldn't do it. So sometimes it overrides you. Paul Menard clocks in 20th fastest on that first lap.
Still looking for that first top 10 finish in 2009.
24 cars have gone right now. It is Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin sharing row 1. Very good qualifying effort for Casey Mears. This would be his best start of the year right now. He is 3rd quickest with a 19.71 second lap. His previous best start was 7th at Bristol back in August, and coming off that good 7th place finish at Lowe's Motor Speedway last Saturday night. Here's a 00, David Rudeman. He was very good in the only practice session, guys.
Very good so far in this run, too. He's tracking 3rd, 1970. Oops.
Try to get a little more there off turn 2.
A little bit greedy off of 2.
But that's what you have to do. You just have to stand in the gas and hope that you've got it pointed in the right direction and the rear tires hook up. After he had that first lap in the books, it allowed him to be able to go after it a little harder there. Slows down just a little bit.
5th in practice or a 3rd in qualifying. Well, lots of motorsports to come your way. Of course, practice here tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time for NASCAR Sprint Cup Series on ESPN2. We'll also have later in the day happy hour coverage at 6:30 Eastern time, and then live flag-to-flag coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race presented by Goodyear here at Martinsville, beginning with NASCAR Countdown, 1 o'clock Eastern time on ABC. For the NASCAR Nationwide Series, final practice at Memphis that is coming up next on ESPN2. We'll have qualifying tomorrow morning at 10:45 a.m. and then flag-to-flag coverage of the Nationwide Series race tomorrow at 3 Eastern time. Marty Reed, Rusty Wallace, Randy LaJoy, and all the group over there in Memphis, Tennessee. NASCAR Now, the pre-race edition. We will set the stage here for what's going to happen on Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. Here's the one car of Martin Truex Jr. out to see what he can do and maybe get this car in the top 10.
Got a pretty decent lap if he can get off of turn 4 here pretty good. Clock in 12th. It's just such a tight field. I mean, from the 3rd spot at David Rudiman to right there to 12th is just a 1/10 of a second.
Well, that's the way it's always been these short tracks. It's unbelievable really how close together you can see 40-some cars qualify.
Right there at it. Oh, just does miss the pole.
Killer 1 and 2, P2.
And he did just miss the pole, just about not even a 100th of a second.
That will equal his best start ever here at Martinsville. He started 2nd here back in the fall of 2007, if it holds up. Let's check in with Reed Sorenson. Dave.
Yeah, he's getting tired of watching guys nudge him down the running here. But a good lap for you. How tough is it to go out there and bust off a couple of laps on cold tires?
Well, it's tough here. You gotta, your brakes aren't hot, or your tire pressures aren't hot, or your tires aren't hot. So I've always had a car that could run a good lap in practice, and you get to qualify and you either overdrive it or underdrive it. And it's tough not to cross the line on either side. So you got to hit it just right and not make the tires mad, and just kind of roll faster than you do in race trim. So we had a good car in qualifying trim. It was good as soon as we put it in Q trim this morning. And guys worked real hard. We made a few changes and picked up a little time from practice. So I'm going to go back inside because when I came back out here, I've lost 3 spots already. So we're pretty happy with that. We think it'll be in the top 10, maybe top 15. But that's always good starting here at Martinsville to kind of get away from all the beating and banging that's in the middle of the pack on. So we're happy to be where we're at.
All right, thanks, Reed. Doc?
How about a new pole sitter, guys? Ragan Newman, the Rocket Man, right now has put his Chevy on the pole. And the first of 2 laps is complete of the 19. What a lap for Newman, 19.563.
Well, he smoked him. I'll tell you that. Jeff Gordon had a great lap to beat right there, and he did it. 19.56.
Well, he's already a 2-time pole winner here at Martinsville. It could be 3 after this day is done. A.J. Allmendinger backing up what he ran in practice. In fact, he had a very good practice effort. Now 13th overall here with his Dodge, qualifying just behind Jimmy Johnson. You've done something when you qualify between Jimmy Johnson and Denny Hamlin, which is right now where A.J. Allmendinger sits on the starting grid. Here's David Stremme in the Penske Dodge.
Another driver looking for a ride next season. First lap is in the top 10, 1974. A lot of 70s. See 70s from 5th all the way back to 14th. Actually back to 15th.
David Stremme's best starting spot here at Martinsville was 13th back in the fall of 2006. And he will certainly improve on that. Right now, that will put him in the top 10 at 10th. Let's go down and visit with the driver who sits 3rd right now on the grid, Dave.
And Doc, if all you looked at was the practice sheet from earlier today, you wouldn't have counted him anywhere near the front, but I'm sure you knew it was going to be better than that, right, Martin?
Well, you always hope it is, We had a good practice. We ran race trim throughout the whole thing because of the weather looking bad tomorrow. And this is a brand new car the guys built to bring here, so they worked hard on it, did a good job. And we only did 1 qualifying run of practice, and it wasn't very good. So made a stab at it, and Bono hit it right. And it was a good lap. It wasn't a great lap, but real happy with it.
Good stab, Doc.
A great effort by Martin Truex. And here's a driver, Greg Biffle, who was not very good in practice. He was 38th overall and really trying to hustle this car and try to maybe get it to top 15 at best in the starting spot.
Yeah, and to say this is not one of his best tracks, that's a huge understatement. 1 top 10 finish in his 13 starts so far.
Yeah, I was talking to some of the crew guys down there this morning, and they said that they practiced this car at Rockingham at the Little Rock track they've got out back and thought they had a pretty good car. I mean, they really felt like they had a better car than they did in the spring. 17th quickest on this first lap.
One of only 2 tracks that Greg Biffle has never had a top 5. The other one being the place we're going next week, Talladega. So not the good part of the chase for him. Maybe he can make up for it starting here this weekend. And a little bit slower second time by, but 17th is much better than probably he thought they would run when they were 38th in the morning practice session. Let's go down and talk with our provisional pole sitter, Dave.
That is Ragan Newman. Getting it done on a short track here today. Were you happy with that lap?
Yeah, I think I got everything out of it I could have. I tried to get more in the second lap, and it cost me. But a great lap for the U.S. Army Chevrolet. Tony Gibson, the guys have done a great job, and the Hendrick horsepower. So we'll just see where we end up. But I'm pretty confident that I got all I could get out of it.
Yeah, here that overdriving thing can really just put you down, can it?
Well, after so many big tracks, you come to a short track, it's easy to overdrive it here.
All right, guys.
I think the secret there was the little Army man and the flag he had stuck in the cowl there before he went out. Everybody's going to want those now from now on to be able to get the car on the pole. Here's Bobby Labonte back in the 96 car, the Hall of Fame Racing Ford. This will be the final time this year he will drive this car, and starting next week he'll be back in the Kevin Buckler Chevy, the 71 car, for the remainder of the 2009 season.
This is a racetrack Bobby's done reasonably well at. I wouldn't say it's one of his all-time favorites if you talk to him, but he has had some success. That first lap will be 21st.
The second lap's going to be a lot better.
Bobby has a pole and a victory here. 6 top 5s, 13 top 10s, and 33 starts. So you're right, DJ. He has run very well here.
Yeah, check it out. 8th quickest.
Wow. So he equals his best start of the year. Let's go down and visit with Casey Mears. Shannon.
Casey Mears 6th on the speed chart right now. In this 07 team, I mean, you guys have come alive the last couple weeks. 7th place finish last week at Charlotte. Now, I know you have the crew chief change coming, something that is a little bit that wasn't anticipated, but how much momentum do you have right now going into the rest of the season?
You know, we'll see how it goes. It's really proud of what everybody's done, you know, up to this point. We've had a lot of fun these last few races, and, you know, we actually ran really well races before that, just little things happening where we're not getting the finishes that we needed. But it feels good to come to a place like Martinsville and back up, you know, kind of what we've been doing at the bigger tracks. So just been having a lot of fun. Hopefully we can get the Jack Daniels Chevrolet up front, keep it up front all day long, and have a good finish. And, you know, whatever happens after this, we'll just deal with it the best we can.
And Casey can absolutely get it done. He finished 6th here in this race last year.
He is getting it done for Richard Childress Racing, coming off that 7th place finish last week at Lowe's Motor Speedway. What a team player he's been, by the way, over at RCR. You're watching the 14 car. Tony Stewart qualified. Darian Grubb there, the crew chief, watching his Chevy that had struggled in practice. Tony was back in 39th on the morning practice sheets.
Yeah, but I think they did nothing but race runs in trying to get prepared with anticipation that tomorrow may get washed out as far as getting any practice. So this may be his first attempt at trying to get in a qualifying effort. And I think that you can certainly see that as he picks up quite a bit on his second lap up to the 13th spot.
When we come back, I'm going to ask Dale Jarrett and Andy Petrie what they would have done knowing that tomorrow may get washed out. Obviously, it worked okay here for Tony Stewart.
NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying, brought to you by Sylvania. See farther, see wider, see better. Silver Star Ultra headlights from Sylvania.
NASCAR Sprint Cup qualifying continuing here at Martinsville Speedway in Virginia. John Andretti going out to qualify. John, of course, the winner here, driving for the King Richard Petty back in 1999. And he clocked in 25th, and right now it is a 55 car of Michael Waltrip on the racetrack. And Michael had a little bit of a shunt yesterday with a motorcycle rider down in Mooresville, North Carolina. Motorcycle rider was treated and released. Michael was making a U-turn about 5 miles an hour.
Oh, he's going to make another one right here if he's not careful.
And no harm, no foul, able to be get away from that one, and that will not give him a good lap in qualifying in 1993. Puts him 32nd overall.
Riding around right on the edge, it's spinning out.
That was definitely on the edge of spinning out. He did a nice job of not spinning
Actually,
out.
this is spinning out. Just didn't go all the way around. Man, look at this right here.
Wow.
See him laying a black mark coming off the corner.
Wow. You just bury it in the throttle, bury your foot in the throttle, and hold on, DJ, to try to get the...
That's about all you can do right there. You kind of, once you get it straight enough, you can now ease off the throttle, and obviously that's why the time slowed down quite a bit. But yeah, there's much hoping and praying at that point.
Here's Dave Blaney in the 66 car. See what he can do. Trying to get this car in the field. 44 cars here. 43 will start, so only one's not going to make it. And Dave, the first of the drivers that must get in on time and speed.
Only twice this year has he failed to get in. Las Vegas and then last week at Lowe's Motor Speedway. He is the slowest car to time trial so far in this session, though. Have to pick it up.
He was on 35th in practice, so by far he was not. He was about the 43 cars here, 44 cars here, so he had much better laps in practice in the Prism Motorsports Toyota. See if he can get it better, and he does the second time by.
Just barely breaks that 22nd barrier.
Yeah, I actually believe that'll probably be good enough to get him in the race.
That is faster than he actually ran in the practice session, this morning when he ran just over 20 seconds. We just joined our coverage. We had a rain shower here in the area this morning, which pushed our schedule back, so we had to delay qualifying. They had one practice session mid-morning, and qualifying did not get underway till a little after 3:40 Eastern time. And we will have coverage after our qualifying today from Memphis Motorsports Park for the NASCAR Nationwide Series drivers' final practice session. Marty Reed, Randy LaJoie, Rusty Wallace standing by. There's Josh Wise. Boy, he nailed that brake pedal just coming into one.
Well, this is his first attempt at making a cup start. He picked a tough, very difficult place.
That's not the way to do it right there.
Especially a young guy coming here for the first time and trying to get in that first cup race. See, he's being compared to Dave Blaney's time right here now. So it'll be about probably somewhere close to half a second off of Blaney's fastest lap.
And he is the slowest right now at 20.48. The good news for Josh, he's only got to beat one car. Right now, the bad news is he is the slowest car of all those that have gone out to qualify. And he was also the slowest in the morning practice session.
Well, you can see he's trying hard. Actually slows down on that second lap.
We invite you to join us for coverage on Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern time. It is stop number 6 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. NASCAR Sprint Cup action at Martinsville presented by Goodyear. Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern time, beginning with NASCAR Countdown on ABC. Folks, Denny Hamlin has scored more short track points this season than any other driver. Remember, Hamlin dominated the race back here in April, but didn't win after being passed late by Jimmy Johnson. Can Hamlin get the victory lane, and can someone in the chase possibly catch Johnson? Show you where some of the chasers are thus far that have qualified. You see Jimmy Johnson right now back in 15th. Mark Martin. How about Jeff Gordon second right now in the front row? Ryan Newman. Can Ryan Newman maybe get to victory lane for the first time this year? Good run for Ryan Newman, the U.S. Army Chevrolet.
See, a lot of them are going to have to come from back in the pack, though, to make a good day of it.
See Travis Quappo out to qualify, the former Truck Series champion. DJ, is there a racetrack more difficult than this one in terms of having to work your way through traffic?
No, because the cars are so equal now, and the drivers obviously very talented, this is a tough place to pass. Even when you have a really good car, you can have a car that's literally 3 or 4 tenths faster than someone else, and you cannot get by them unless you just choose to run into them extremely hard and try to make that pass. So no, this is a difficult place to be back in traffic and find yourself there. You use up your car is the biggest concern. You back in there, if you're not careful, you'll use up the brakes and possibly the front end, knock the fenders in, and that can be create a very difficult problem for you for the rest of the day.
And Andy, someone like Kyle Busch right now sits back in 37th. He's the next to the slowest car here. That's got to be very difficult for a crew chief to decide on track position as opposed to fresh tires. Normally, you would take fresh tires at a lot of tracks.
Yeah, but you'll definitely opt for track position if you get a chance, just to try to dig yourself out of that hole, because just like Dale said, it is so hard on the race car to try to come from the middle of the pack. If you're up front, top 10 or so, you can sit there basically and kind of run your own race, back off the throttle a little bit early, save the brakes, roll the center of the corner. But when you got that leader bearing down on you from behind, you've got to start making something happen. You start using up the brakes, and like Dale said, using up the body, and it can make for a really long day.
Full contact stock car racing here at Martinsville Speedway. Always fun to watch. We'll have it for you at 1 o'clock on Sunday. David Gilliland will lock himself into the field on Sunday, as has the 37 car of Travis Quapple and the 66 also in of Dave Blaney.
Yeah, you see this, we're comparing to Josh Wise in that 73, and by the fact that he ran such a slow lap, you're going to see all these cars really far up in the green on this comparative graphic that we've got.
Right now, it's Ragan Newman and Jeff Gordon the front row, Truex Martin and David Rudiman the top 5 as we continue with coverage of qualifying in a moment. Joe Nemechek, the latest car to qualify here. Front row Joe getting himself solidly in the field, 27th overall in qualifying as we continue here. And Michael McDowell on the racetrack. One of the drivers doing double duty this weekend. McDowell will be headed to Memphis, Tennessee, where we'll be heading after qualifying here to bring you live coverage of Happy Hour, final Nationwide Series practice from Memphis.
Yeah, you see him locking that left front tire up, get in the corner. He struggled with that in practice as well. Watched him quite a few laps there, and seemed like every time I looked over at the 36, he was locking up the left front, getting in the corner.
But he will get in the race.
Yep. Turns it is light green.
So he'll have a pretty busy weekend here going back and forth between Memphis and Virginia. So will you, because we're going to have a lot of coverage coming your way. We got NASCAR Sprint Cup practice tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Happy hour coverage in the evening at 6:30 Eastern time from here at Martinsville, Virginia on ESPN2. Then on Sunday on ABC at 1 o'clock Eastern time. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series action presented by Goodyear, beginning with Alan Bestwick and the boys. NASCAR countdown at 1 o'clock. You want some nationwide coverage? How about final practice coming up in a few minutes at Memphis? That's coming up next on ESPN2. We'll have qualifying from Memphis tomorrow morning at 10:45 and the race at 3 o'clock Eastern time, all on ESPN2. And on Sunday morning, we will set the stage to talk about all the stories surrounding the chase. 10 a.m. Eastern time, NASCAR Now on ESPN2. '64 car, that is Derek Cope, the 1990 winner, the Daytona 500. Trying to get a start here at Martinsville, his first Cup start of the year here in Martinsville, Virginia.
That's just a little bit slower than what he practiced, but it's good enough to ensure that he will race on Sunday.
Yeah, after seeing the lap that Josh Wise ran, I'm sure that he could probably, be a little more conservative with this lap and not overdo it and make sure he's in the field.
So even quicker second time by for Derek Cope. And that'll leave 2 more cars yet to go in qualifying. That's Sterling Marlin and Scott Speed. There's Tony Stewart in the garage area. The guy's working to dial in his Chevy. Right now, Tony sits 13th on the speed charts. His teammate and the car he owns, Ragan Newman, on the pole. This would be Newman's second pole of the year. Also won the pole back in May at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Tony over hanging out with some of Jeff Gordon's guys, and as well as Jeff Gordon has run here over the years, I'd hang out with them too.
Yeah, I would too. I'd hang right close.
Sterling Marlin, one of the favorites up here in the Virginia area. He's from Tennessee. Boy, he's had some good runs over the years in his career here. Just came so close to picking up a win here a few years ago down to the wire in what was a photo finish. We'll see what he can do driving for James Finch here today.
Yeah, looking at Tony over there, used to do that as a driver. Sometimes you wanted to see somebody else's car, especially if they had the hood up and things like that. You'd go over and act like you're looking at their monitor and things. But these cars are so complicated now and everything, it's really hard to tell anymore. But just a little way of walking by and hanging out.
I walked through there today and checked out a few of the Hendrick cars, picked up a few things.
That's a little sneaky, isn't it, though?
Well, I'm not racing against them.
Oh, I got you. I'm talking about what DJ was talking about.
Oh, yeah, that is sneaky.
Do whatever you can do. They were looking at ours too when we were good. So,
all right, Sterling Marlin, he gets himself in the field, 37th overall out of 1997. So he'll be racing on Sunday in the 09. There's Tony Stewart. Now, what's he doing? Is he pretending he's looking at the monitor and he'll glance over and say, let's see what that's from?
I wonder if he's got his cell phone in his pocket. He's taking pictures of the front.
I'm pretty sure that his team has enough money that they have their own monitor. So you tell me what he's doing over there.
But he does have Hendrick cars and Hendrick engines, so you think he's got a little bit of engineering help from him as well, but maybe not everything that 24 car's got on it.
Yeah, you just hang out. There's probably a crowd around his over there next to him. And he just wandered down there. He might be wanting to talk to Jeff too, so he's just hanging out waiting for him to come back.
Maybe get some DuPont samples or something.
See how Jeff was able to put up that lap that he did.
Here's Scott Speed. Let's see what the rookie can do here in Martinsville. Again, his car, his teammate Brian Vickers qualified 23rd.
He just needs a good solid lap here on this first lap. And he can get himself.
Yeah, he's got that.
Try to improve on that second lap. Yeah,
that's 18th quickest so far. We'll switch over here now, compare him to the pole sitter.
He was 12th quickest in the morning practice session, so he was flirting there with a top 10 speed. Let's see what he can do now. That's a good. That is against Ryan Newman now, the pole sitter. And he might get in the top 20.
Yeah, sometimes you run that really what you think is a little kind of conservative lap just to get yourself locked in, then you go after it and you slow down.
So 18th overall for Scott Speed. Good lap for the rookie here in Martinsville, Virginia. Well, that'll do it for qualifying. We'll come back and wrap it up. And right now, Ryan Newman on the pole. Welcome back to Martinsville, Virginia. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series qualifying is history, and Ryan Newman has picked up his 45th career pole in his 292nd start. He's with our Dave Burns.
And Doc, maybe most importantly, his first pole in the chase. So congratulations on that, Ryan. How difficult now to keep it up front all day long on Sunday?
Well, we got the best of everything to start, and would like to finish up there with the U.S. Army Chevrolet. But Tony Gibson and the guys did a great job, and we unloaded pretty good and got our 2 qualifying runs in, and just had a heck of a lap there, and felt like I got everything, and that's what it took. Jeff's really good here, so we'll see. Don't know what the rain's going to be like or what the weather's going to be like tomorrow, but almost don't want any practice.
They'll get a great pit stall pick as well, and we'll see how good they are on Sunday. Shannon?
Well, Dave, it's not the 14 on the pole, but it is his teammate, and he is the team owner of that car, of course. So congratulations, your first Martinsville pole. What does this mean?
It's cool. I mean, I wish we could be second to him right now, but Ryan did an awesome job, and Tony Gibson and all the guys in the U.S. Army team, it's awesome. Hendrick horsepower and chassis, and great staff at Stewart Haas Racing that got him there. So really proud of him.
Yeah, speaking of Hendrick, Stewart Haas, we saw you over here by the 24 car, and some of the guys were wondering what you were doing. Your monitor broken over there?
Ours still has had some of the truck practice too, so theirs was set up in qualifying mode so you could see who was on the track. So I was over there peeking at their monitor, and that way I could tell who was on the track at the time.
All right, see guys, he was just looking at the monitor, Tony Stewart.
They think way too much most of the time.
Tony Stewart, starting 13th at Martinsville, guys.
We've been accused of a lot of things, but never of thinking too much, I don't think, guys. We're picking with Tony about being over the 24 car. Guys, qualifying, surprises and disappointments.
I think surprises, certainly. Joey Logano, first car out on the racetrack, qualifies 7th. Right beside him, starting Sunday, Bobby Labonte. Great effort for him there in the 8th spot.
Yeah, some of the disappointments, they have to be the Busch brothers, 37th and 41st. Kirk Busch starting way back there in 37th. Long way to go to get back to the front here at this little racetrack.
See Jimmy Johnson inside row 8 there. Denny Hamlin, 2 of the guys you know they're going to watch on Sunday. Joe Nemechek made it in the field. Casey Kane toward the back there. You see the very difficult racetrack to pass on. If you start from about row 15 on back, boy, it's going to be tough. And plus the fact you got a tough place to pit on pit road.
Yeah, you just don't get the opportunity to pick where you would like. You just have to take kind of what's available, and there are only a few good spots here.
And as you heard Ryan Newman alluding to the fact that they just ran one session this morning, and of course they just had the qualifying session. The forecast for tomorrow is ugly here, folks. So we're supposed to have practice in the morning and happy hour tomorrow afternoon. They may or may not get on this racetrack here tomorrow on Saturday. But of course what we will have for you on Saturday is live coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series. And right now the NASCAR Nationwide Series are standing by. Marty Reed out in Memphis, Tennessee. Marty, for final practice. Why don't you take it away?